Welcome to my YouTube channel, In Jesus We Trust for Salvation. The truth, Jesus' return, the rapture. When will it really happen? Far too often we get people on the internet predicting the rapture will happen, saying it's going to happen in the next couple of days, or in September, or it is imminent. However, are we being told the truth? To discover the truth, when the rapture is really going to happen, we first have to look at the signs of Jesus' return and a timeline of the Great Tribulation from the Bible. And to do this, what I will do is play various scriptures from the Bible, from Jesus himself in Matthew, from John in Revelation, as well as from the Apostle Paul. This will give us a much better idea of when this will occur. First, I'm going to start with the Apostle John.
I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come!" I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come!" Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make men slay each other. To him was given a large sword. When the Lamb opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, "Come!" I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the 4 living creatures saying,
"A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine."
When the Lamb opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come!" I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over 1/4 of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony they had made. They called out in a loud voice,
"How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?"
Then each of them was given a white robe, and they were told to wait a little longer, until the number of their fellow servants and brothers who were to be killed, as they had been, was completed. I watched as he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth as late figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The sky receded like a scroll, rolling up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and every slave and every free man hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. They called to the mountains and the rocks,
"Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand?"
And out of the temple came a loud voice from the throne saying,
"It is done."
Then there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. No earthquake like it has ever occurred since man has been on earth. So tremendous was the quake. The great city split into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations collapsed. God remembered Babylon the Great, and gave her the cup filled with the wine of the fury of his wrath. Every island fled away, and the mountains could not be found. From the sky, huge hailstones of about 100 pounds each fell upon men, and they cursed God on account of the plague of hail, because the plague was so terrible.
So from John's account, we get this timeline, things that will occur in this order. And I've broken them down into 12 points. Firstly, the first 6 seals, which is 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which include the first white horseman, a false messiah's deception, and who's crowned. The second horseman which represents wars, and the third horseman, which represents weighing scales, which is famine, and the fourth horseman, which represents pestilence, disease, and death. The fifth seal, which is martyrs on the altar, Christian persecution, slain, and a Great Tribulation. And on the sixth seal, we've got a great earthquake, followed by the sun becoming black, the moon becoming like blood. The stars of the sky have fell to earth. Earth is split apart like a scroll when it's rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of their place, and people hide themselves in dread due to the coming wrath of God. So it's very important to take note of these points, because now we're going to play scriptures from the Matthew account from Jesus and Luke account, and compare these and see how we can piece everything together.
His disciples came to him privately and asked,
"When will all this take place? And will there be any sign ahead of time to signal your return and the end of the world?"
Jesus told him, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah.' They will lead many astray, and wars will break out near and far, but don't panic. Yes, these things must come, but the end won't follow immediately. The nations and kingdoms will proclaim war against each other, and there will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this will be only the beginning of the horrors to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because of your allegiance to me. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will lead many people astray. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But those who endure to the end will be saved. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it. And then, finally, the end will come. The time will come when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, the entire human race will be destroyed, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. For as the lightning lights up the entire sky, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Immediately after those horrible days end, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. And then at last, the sign of the coming of the Son of Man will appear in the heavens, and there will be deep mourning among all the nations of the earth. And they will see the Son of Man arrive on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send forth his angels with the sound of a mighty trumpet blast, and they will gather together his chosen ones from the farthest ends of the earth and heaven."
"Teacher,"
they asked,
"when will all this take place? And will there be any sign ahead of time?"
He replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming to be the Messiah, and saying, 'The time has come,' but don't believe them. And when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yes, these things must come, but the end won't follow immediately." Then he added, "Nations and kingdoms will proclaim war against each other. There will be great earthquakes, and there will be famines and epidemics in many lands, and there will be terrifying things and great miraculous signs in the heavens. But before all this occurs, there will be a time of great persecution. You will be dragged into synagogues and prisons, and you will be accused before kings and governors of being my followers. Even those closest to you, your parents, brothers, relatives, and friends, will betray you, and some of you will be killed. And everyone will hate you because of your allegiance to me. There will be strange events in the skies, signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Down here on earth the nations will be in turmoil, perplexed by the roaring seas and strange times. The courage of many people will falter because of the fearful fate they see coming upon the earth, because the stability of the very heavens will be broken. Then everyone will see the Son of Man arrive on the clouds with power and great glory. So when all these things begin to happen, stand straight and look up, for your salvation is near."
And as you can see from Jesus' accounts in Matthew and Luke chapter 21, We get false messiahs, wars, famines, pestilence, great earthquakes, Christian prisons, persecution, death, and Great Tribulation. The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, the powers of the heavens will be shaken, the sign of the Son of Man will appear, and people on the earth mourn after seeing the sign of the Son of Man in the sky. So as you can see, the account is pretty much identical, and what I'll do is I'll put these side by side so you can actually see them both, and literally it's quite amazing. Jesus is describing the exact same event as John, but we get additional information of Jesus appearing after the heavens is shaken in the sky. So this is basically the rapture time, and as you can see, both of these events are clearly referring to the same event happening in the end times. Now we're going to look at Paul's accounts. This is the famous 2 Thessalonians account, where Paul actually describes what will happen on the rapture.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, let no man deceive you by any means. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
So as we can see from Paul's account, a falling away, an apostasy, all that's basically meaning an abandonment or renouncing of religious belief. Secondly, an antichrist is revealed. Thirdly, he sits on a throne in God's temple. This has to be built first. Fourthly, we see Jesus destroying him on his return. And finally, the rapture event, which is the gathering up. Now we're going to go back to Apostle John's account.
And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and on each head a blasphemous name. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne, and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have had a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. He was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them, and he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. He also forced everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on his right hand or on his forehead, so that no one could buy or sell unless he had the mark, which is the name of the beast, or the number of his name. For it is man's number. His number is 666.
And from John's accounts, we see the Antichrist sets up 10 kingdoms which rules the world. This is represented by the 10 horns on the beast's head, and he receives a fatal head wound but is healed. He blasphemes God, he makes wars with the saints, they go into captivity and they're killed, and Antichrist is worshipped by all, and finally he forces all people, great and small, to receive the mark of the beast. So as earlier, Paul and John's account again describe the same events, and I've highlighted Paul's account in yellow and John in white, so just so you know where the pieces fit together. And first we see the Antichrist sets up 10 kingdoms to rule the entire world. He receives a fatal head wound but is healed. He blasphemes God, makes war against the saints and into captivity and killed, or thrown into captivity. There will be, as a result of this, a great falling away, or apostasy, or abandonment, or renouncing of the belief due to this great persecution. And from this, the Antichrist will be revealed, because he'll be the one that's killing off all the Christians. He'll sit on the throne of God, and that's Solomon's third temple when it's built. He forces all people to receive the mark of the beast. Then back to Paul, we We know after that, Jesus destroys him on the return and the rapture, which is the gathering up. So from this, we get a good idea of a timeline of what's going to occur. But how does this fit in with the rest of the early accounts? And we'll look at this now. And this will give us a much better idea of when the rapture will actually happen. And of course, the many signs of the Great Tribulation.